there, YouTube? I'm back here today for another game review. And today I'm very excited to check out Happy Bunny from Blue Orange Games. This is for 1 to 4 players, take about 15 minutes to play, and it's for ages 3+. And in Happy Bunny, you are going to be collecting carrots as you are a bunny wandering through a farmer's garden. You're trying to have the longest row of carrots, either beating other people if you play the competitive version of the game, or beating the farmer if you're playing the cooperative version of the game. It is a light, simple, very young children's game, but it's good. Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Happy Bunny. So first and foremost, we have their handy-dandy back of the box, which is one big page with pictures and illustrations. It's very well done. It should have you up and running in no time at all, and I actually really love when companies do this. I misplace a lot of rule booklets. I don't misplace the top of boxes that often. So thumbs up on the rule booklet. It should have you up and running in no time at all. Also, I can teach you how to play right now. Now, before we get started, I do want to mention there is a cooperative version of the game, and there is a competitive version of the game. They're both very similar, but I'll run you through both of them because this is a pretty short video right now. So, in Happy Bunny, what you're going to try and do is you're going to try and have the longest string of carrots, either against all the other people if you're playing competitive, or have a longer string of carrots than the farmer if you are playing cooperative. How you're going to do that? Well, first thing you're going to do is you're going to set up the board. The board is actually inside of the box. It's kind of nifty. You're going to set all these carrots up inside the box without seeing how long each one is. You're going to set the little bunny right here. Then on your turn, you're going to roll the dice and move to that next color space. Kind of a Candyland sort of aspect there. So we would go to the next purple, and we get to pick out 2 carrots from the ground. So I'll show you the cooperative version of the game first. So in the cooperative version of the game, you're still going to pick out 2, and if they have a bite in them, that means they're super delicious, and they go over here to the rabbit hole because they're for the rabbits. And if they don't have a bite taken out of them, then they belong to the farmers. Let's see. This one has a bite in it, so both these would go over here to the farmer. And then it'd be the next player's turn. They'd roll the dice, they'd go to the next purple, they'd pick out 3. This one, no bite, so that one is the farmer's carrot. Boop-a-doo-doo-doo. That one has a bite, that would go over here, and this one has a bite, that one goes over here. You're going to continue to do this until eventually you get, hey, to the finish line, at which point you'll pull 1 carrot. Now you're going to see who has the longest string of carrots. In this particular scenario, obviously, we have just absolutely crushed the farmer because he only has 1. But how you do it is you put them end to end to end, like so, and whoever's is longest is the winner of the game. The only difference between the cooperative and the competitive is in the competitive version of the game, there is no farmer. You take him away, you don't use him, and everyone is going to have a little, they're going to have their own different, and see, some are starting to get ones that don't have the bites in them. They're going to have their own line, and whoever's line is the longest is the winner of the game. And that, in a nutshell, is how you're going to play Happy Bunny. Alright then, Happy Bunny from Blue Orange Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the cons, the game's not going to be for everybody. In fact, the game's not going to be for most people. It is a children's game. It can be a family game if you have very young children. I would say the age range on this one is going to be about 3 years old to 6 years old that I would realistically play it. 6 is about the cutoff. I tried bringing it into my classroom and playing it with some 6 and 7-year-olds. The 6-year-olds enjoyed it. The 7-year-olds were like, eh. 8-year-olds, no. So I would say this is going to have a very limited window, which is always a big turnoff. Also, 1 to 4 players, somewhat of a restricted player count. And yes, you can play it as a solo game. My son played it by himself. He was able to do it all by himself, which is always a good thing, but that's more on the pro side. Any other cons that I have for the game? I mean, there's no strategy whatsoever. It is just roll the dice, go to the spot, randomly pick out carrots, and what happens, happens. There is no choices in this game at all, aside from which carrots am I going to take, and that's all completely random. So that's a big con with this game, is that there's no choices. And I know some people are going to say, well, it's a children's game, so of course there's no choices. But there's plenty of children's games that have at least some minor choices. This has none, which will be a turnoff to some people. But moving on to the pros, this is a great children's game, and it's just that simple. It's a great, very young children's game, and I'm going to give this one a good review. I'm going to give this one a very good ranking, because here's my criteria. I played it with a 2.5-year-old, I played it with a 5-year-old, I played it with 6-year-olds. about the age range that I would expect this game would go over well with, and it went over well with all of them. My son really enjoyed it. My 2-year-old was able to play, and he enjoyed rolling the dice and pulling out the carrots. Didn't quite have an idea of what was going on, but he enjoyed it. Also, it plays cooperative and it plays competitive, and I like the competitive a little bit better, but the cooperative, it's viable. You know, as you saw in the middle part, it seemed like all of the carrots were for the bunny and not for the farmer. But in realistic, it actually does kind of even out, and we did lose a game of this. So I'm always glad when I'm playing a children's game that's cooperative and you can lose, because I think that's a very valuable skill for children to learn, how to win and how to lose. Component-wise, components are great. I like the rules, the fact they're in the box top. There's no wasted space here. The box itself houses the entire game. The artwork's great. Component-wise, I really like the components, the bunny and the farmer and the dice. Everything looks pretty good. And if you're in the market for a game for children age 2.5 to 6, Happy Bunny's a great game. I would say I would probably steer towards the 2 to 4-year-old range a little bit more than the 5 and 6, just because you're going to get more mileage and more legs out of the game. But as it stands now, Happy Bunny is a great young children's game they will enjoy. You will not hate it because it's really snappy. 15 minutes, that's a lie. It's probably going to take about 7 to 8 minutes to play the game. So in the end, brain fart. Happy Bunny is a great, very young children's game that I can recommend. I will be keeping it and playing it with my 2 sons, most likely just my one youngest son, because he's really going to start enjoying this game once he understands it a little bit more. So there's Happy Bunny from Blue Orange Games. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know what's the first arcade game you ever remember playing. For me personally, I had an Atari 5200, I think. It wasn't a 2600. I think it was like a 5200 or 5800. But the first arcade game I remember playing is Joust. I remember when I was in my YMCA daycare, there was a Joust machine, like this odd free play Joust machine in the back. We used to jam out on Joust all the time, so I really, really enjoyed Joust. But let me know in the comments below, what is the first arcade game you remember playing? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.